Dr. Li from Academia Sinica in Taiwan. And I'm sorry I couldn't be presented today because I'm in Thailand for the APEC meeting right now. I very much wanted to present this live, so if there were any questions, my assistant will help to answer it. And if there were more discussions that you wish to have, you're very welcome to have the email down there. The topic I'm going to present is the GPU-facilitated deep learning approach in medical image analysis. I'm also the project manager of Smart Healthcare, and the GPU machine we use now is the NVIDIA A100. Let me start with a brief introduction of what the Smart Health project is about. The Smart Health project was founded last year, and the PI is the Dean, the Chair of the Academia Sinica, Dr. Liao Junzhi. And there are also 5 PIs from different disciplines. For example, Dr. Chen Junho from Institute of Statistical Science, so as the Dr. Yang Xinzhou, and we also have the PIs from biomedical expertise and for information expertise. And what we do now is trying to use the power of artificial intelligence or deep learning and trying to promote the medical discoveries, especially the precision medicine that we discuss nowadays. So the data we deal with are very diverse, from genetic data to medical image and health record or lab tests, and numerical data type, the surveys, etc. So there are lots and lots of data that accumulated recently, and we also have the data not only from the Taiwan Biobank and Taiwan Precision Medicine Initiative, we also cooperate with the hospitals that's off the campus. So actually, we really appreciate that NVIDIA has brought lots of supportive machines that we purchased, and with OpenACC and such tools that we are able to accomplish meaningful things in the medical field. And here is the hardware and the environment we established for analyzing such data. And for example, we have the independent working area. There are 6 seats, and we can do remotely using those database that is under security controlled. And most importantly, in the middle, we have the NVIDIA 100, and the RAM is 40G with 8 slices. And this machine comes with very useful tools such as Clara, Mo9, Parabricks, etc. And it is equipped with 1 TB memory. And we also purchase other storage to support such a computation. And the storage right now is around 335 TBs. And here again is the introduction of this machine, this gold tablets machine, and in detail. And here are some quick pictures showing randomly that how this machine, when this machine is arrived, and how we check it, how we establish that. So you can see that there is a group of people with different backgrounds, all trying to make the best from those data, and we all care about how to use such machine to add value on the data as we have. Following by the topic I mentioned, I will give some examples how we use such machine to promote the deep learning in the medical data. So the first one is a topic that we published last year. It's called tensor dimensionality reduction in deep learning-based segmentation to identify the pneumothorax in chest X-rays. So the data we use here are the chest X-rays that is often deployed in the clinics when the patient is suspected to have some lung situation, especially in the emergency. So in our expertise in statistical science, we create a tensor dimensionality reduction method to speed up such process. And all this research are working on the NVIDIA GPUs. So why is this research important? When we focus on a situation called a pneumothorax, it means that when our lung is functioning and there is airs or some fluids that enters our lung and making the actual lung organ collapse, and it will affect our efficiency in breathing. So sometimes when the pneumothorax happened, it could be very fatal. And so there are causes such as it could be spontaneously happened, it could be simple type or traumatic type. And when such pneumothorax happened, symptoms would include the increased heart rate, decreased blood pressure, and decreased blood oxygen. So clinically, to examine such pneumothorax happening, the most easiest way is to ask for the chest X-ray scanning. But for more examining in detail, ultrasound and CT scans will also be deployed as well. So as we can see here, on the left-hand side, the chest X-ray, actually there is a pneumothorax there. And it is very hard for the physicians or doctors to observe with their eyes, needless to say for us who are not expert in such a medical field. So as you can see here, actually that's where the pneumothorax happened. And clinically, the doctors trying to find where the location is, having the air or fluid inside. They have to switch between the actual X-ray and if they have already labeled the lesions, they need to slip between those slides to make sure to confirm where exactly is the lesion happening. So it's a very time-consuming process. So the aim of this research, we aim to use the statistical scale called the tensor-based dimensionality reduction method, trying to identify the pneumothorax disease in chest X-rays with a model we call the USEPTIONet. So as we can see downside, the data we have will for the patient's chest X-ray image or the healthy people's chest X-ray image and accompany with the mask, whether there's a lesion or not, respectively. So the function for the USEPTIONet is to segment the lesions automatically. Okay, so the layer here we use is called a tensor projection layer. I'm not going into the detail, but all you need to know is that the tensor projection layer is a tensor-based dimension reduction. I'm trying to transform the input tensors into ones with a smaller dimension by projection. Okay, so the characteristic of such layer include that it is a supervised dimensionality reduction and it preserved the tensor structure of the original data. And there are hyperparameters where we can adjust, include we use the cross entropy loss or the reconstruction error. So this slide shows the algorithms of tensor projection layer. Okay, so there is input, we say there's xi and output as zi, and then there is the UK, the truncated orthogonal matrix. That is what we are trying to have. These slides are just showing that the statistic can play a role in developing all those models and layers to make it more efficiently. And well, some people may say that the tensor projection layer sounds similar to the multilinear PCA. So here is just a brief comparison between these two methods. Here we tried for the classification and also the segmentation task, and just for the preliminary trying. So the data set is we downloaded from Chicago and include 5,856 chest X-ray images for the kids, range from 1 to 5 years old. Here are just some settings with our model. And here is a brief result showing how the classification task works. And as for the segmentation task, we mentioned to identify the regions that shows pneumothorax lesion. There are different data sets we use. The total images we include like 10,000 images with the corresponding mask, and we downloaded from the SIM, it's an organization for radiology images. Okay, so the settings were just showing like here. And how do we do that? We applied a model called the Uception net. It's interesting that this kind of model was originally used to detect the glasses cracking in Italy, in those glasses factories. And it's very similar because the lesions of neurothorax are usually showing the sharp edges as well. So that's why we choose this model for helping us. The results for the first project I'm sharing with you shows that using the tensor precision layer with only one layer, it will decrease around 1/3 of the computational time. But however, if you replace all the max Boolean layers with tensor precision layer, the time will increase, and we suspect that this is due to the increased amount of hyperparameters. So it will increase the training time. Here is a conclusion that showing that such skill can be practical and to improve the efficiency for us to detect the lesions in the neurothorax. And the second project I'm sharing with you is trying to combine a measure of skin complexity and deep learning for identifying Alzheimer's disease in our brain. And this is an exploratory study. And the machine we use here is the GPU A100. And here is a brief introduction of Alzheimer's disease. It is a very serious progressing neurodegenerative disorder that affecting lots of people around the world. And the data we use here are downloaded from the ADN cohort. And the data we use include the resting state fMRI and the T1 weighted structure images. Okay, and the participants and other materials we use are listed in these slides. Here, we try to adopt the concept from the statistical physics. One of the concepts called the complexity science. It allows us to extract the features of the dynamic or nonlinear neuronal interactions, especially in our brain. And here we use an index called power law scaling to extract the dynamic image signals from our brain. And here we use the power law scaling as an imaging processing step and as the Alzheimer's disease features. And our model setting are shown as here. We use the VGG16 and VGG19 with the PyTorch and MONAI using just one chip of the NVIDIA 100 with 40G memories. And such exploratory research shows some interesting results that are both in biological findings and deep learning methods. So firstly, our findings support the hypothesis that currently knowledge about the Alzheimer's disease of the disconnectivity. And as for the findings with the deep learning method, we find that by extracting those dynamic features as the input data to our model, the training time will significantly decrease, and F1 score will increase from 0.822. So this research again suggests that using the complexity, it can play a role in the data preprocessing as a downsampling steps. And again here, we successfully use the GPU machine that accompany with our statistical method, and it may show some potential to make the whole process more efficiently. And last but not least, because of the time, I'm showing you the last project called ALICE. It is a topic that we participate in last year's hackathon. We try to speed up the whole ALICE package that used to analyze the genetic variants. Okay, so ALICE is our developed software to detect the copy number variant, in average called CNV. The copy number variant is one of the causes in the genetic, and if there is finding CNVs, it will lead to some fatal important genetic syndromes. And the ALICE stands for the AF, LOH, SCH, AI, etc. And all those are a significant genetic index. And as you can see from the right-hand side, we have developed a programming framework that helps to analyze the genetic data with an framework and workflow. Okay, it includes data transformation, allele frequency processing, HI preprocessing, a single locus and multi-locus detection, segmentation, and the plot. And here we use the OpenACC to speed up this whole process. So the evolution and strategy here, we hope to use a GPU to accelerate the ALICE and apply on a large data set. For example, we use the time biobank data. So originally, all those scripts are developed, and so we try to identify our target processing, which one we need to speed up the most. So the number 2 and number 3, the pre-processing steps were selected. But however, the huge task cannot be accomplished in this event because they are set. So, and also the software problem. So we transfer from R to the Python, and the tool we used are the NumPy and Pandas and SciPy, etc. And the other thing is that there are fewer R packages supporting for the GPU computing in NVIDIA GPU. So the toolkit we use will be the QPy and QDF. This slide shows the results and the final profile. On the right-hand side, you can see that at different stage of the data processing, the red dot line is the time we spend on the GPU, in contrast to the black one, which represents the calculating time in CPU. So you can see that using the GPU indeed helping to accelerate the computation. And the other thing is that because the genetic data are a lot, and when the sample size is getting larger, we could encounter some problems of out of memory. So we also examined by how the computation time would be by increasing those data numbers. So as you can see here, the GPU again shows significant decreased computation time in contrast to using the CPU. And trying to improve the memory issue is what we're trying to do next. And there are problems and solutions, including language conversion from R to Python to OpenACC, etc. And using the latest version may solve the most of the errors of unsupported functions. And the solution number 2 is just to change our mindset from using different toolkits. And so these are my presentation. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much.